I love that. We do need people to step up, and we need courageous people. We need people to also to call out things as well. We
Totally.
do. We need those people, and the more that come that are brave and courageous like that, I think everybody's just kind of waiting for. It's like, who's going to be the first one who steps out on the dance floor? You ever go to a wedding, right, or you go to some special occasion, and they're playing dance music, and you're looking around, and nobody's on the dance floor.
It reminds me actually when you brought that up, what I was getting a visual of was like a junior high school
A
dance
junior
where
high
it's like
school dance.
it's one of your
Yes,
very first dances.
yes.
Everyone's just standing around like, well, who's gonna dance first?
I was
And
always that kid that would go out on the dance because I couldn't help. They'd play some Michael Jackson, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, I can't stand still! Oh my god, I gotta go out!" And I would go out on the dance floor, and lo and behold, as soon as that first person goes out on that dance floor, then it gives other people the courage to come out on the dance floor. Isn't that funny? That's how we are as humans. We are waiting for
it
someone to go
is.
on the dance floor, Jennifer.
Welcome to Out of the Box with Christine. Are you willing to step into your greatness? Are you ready to shine? Well, get ready, Truth Seeker. You're in for an amazing ride. And now, here's the host of the show, Christine Blosdale.
Welcome back to Out of the Box with Christine. I am your host, Christine Blosdale. I am a media coach, podcast coach, author, and of course, expert authority business advisor for wonderful conscious entrepreneurs who want to get their message out into the world through podcasting, vodcasting, all that good stuff. And today I am very excited. I was telling her before I hit record that I got the goosebumps when I was wanting to have her on the show, and the goosebump meter for the Blosdale goosebump meter means it's the universe's way of saying yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. You need to move forward on this. So I'm very happy to share with my wonderful audience my guest today, Jennifer Spor, who is a spiritual advisor. She's a channel and Akashic Records master consultant and teacher. And she also helps business owners navigate the world and share their true gifts with the world around them and find their soul's purpose. And so I'm very happy to have Jennifer on Out of the Box. Welcome.
Thank you so much. And what an amazing, tremendous welcome. I have goosebumps. I'm super
Well,
excited
that's
for
good.
this conversation. We're going to have so much fun.
We are, because this is one of my favorite topics. So I'm very, very happy to have you on. Now, I like story, and I think your story is quite relatable and something that I would love to have you share. You haven't always been in the Akashic Records business, have you? You had a sort of a bit of an epiphany one time in your life, didn't you?
Yeah, I love this question because I believe that we have several epiphanies. There are several, you know, journeys of evolution that we go through, catalyzers, however we want to word those. But yes, there was an initial kind of flipping on the light switch
Yeah.
sort of story. So I've been doing this work for several years now, but before that, I was living a life that, where traditional society teaches us essentially what it means to achieve success. I had checked many of those boxes off the list. I worked in retail, actually in the retail industry for a really long time, and I loved it so much. And it turns out, part of the reason why was because I love helping people so much. I like to often say that in that time of my life, I was like dating my purpose, but not, like totally married to it. Unknowingly for a while. But anyways, um, I established a really successful career and basically just reached a place in my life where I wasn't feeling challenged anymore as much, and which I've always been I'm a huge student of life, and so I also felt like I wasn't making as much of a difference. And I would say that's really when I started to wonder, what's next? Like the fog started to lift. I didn't take action right away, though, big action. What I did do right around that time was started to kind of on the side embark on this journey of rediscovering who I was, because I also realized I didn't really know who I was, because or not anymore, at least at that point, because I was on all of the time in my job and my career. And when I wasn't doing that, I was directing all of my time more around what friends or family wanted to do. And so at the end of the day, it was like, wow, like, what are my values these days? What are my desires and what do I want? And I've also been very intuitive and very sensitive and gifted in that way as well. So at that time, I started doing some deeper exploration. It was actually about a year and a half after that. I was still in the same career, and my mom was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. And there was a time, it was a very challenging journey. That could be a whole episode of itself, but to say there was a time, I was flying back and forth to be with her as much as I could and to help out my family as much as I could. At the time, I was living on the East Coast in the United States, and my mother was living where I live now in Idaho, which is basically on the opposite end of the country. So there was a defining moment, which was my catalyzer, which was my light switch flipping on. And I was sitting at her bedside. This was just days before she passed. And my phone started blowing up from my work at the time. And it was an issue, some kind of issue that was happening that needed to be resolved. And so once again, and it could have been for the 100th time or the 1,000th time, I don't know, but I was being given an opportunity to choose, am I going to be fully present to what was happening there? Or am I going to choose to be fully present with my mom, which by the way, I actually think that was the last time that I saw her. That was the last visit. And so it was in that moment that I made the decision that I was done allowing myself to feel like I was stuck in my life. Essentially, my courage exceeded my fear in that moment. And I had no idea what was in front of me beyond that moment. I just knew that I needed to change, that I needed to make a big change. And so it was shortly after that time that I ended up voluntarily stepping down from my career, because during that time, remote work wasn't a culture, you know what I mean? And I was living so far away. And after my mom died, I wanted to be physically closer to where my remaining family was. So I ended up stepping down from my career, and much like the lyrics of a country song, literally rented out my house, packed up my car, and headed out west. Drove across the country by myself in like 4 days. That's a whole other story. And it was really awesome and freaking liberating as hell. But it was really that whole journey of transition is really when it started. It was during that time after I had moved that I was figuring out what was next, that I realized I had such an abundance of support in healers, therapists, coaches. But at the time, I was hard pressed to find support from someone who could relate to what this awakening that I was experiencing, but also to support me in actually integrating who I was becoming into my physical reality. And that's when I got the idea to become an entrepreneur, to dedicate my path to helping others step into their truth, to remember the truth of who they are and pursue their highest path here.
Oh, I love that. And you were talking about too the thing of, it's sort of like jumping off a cliff where you don't know what is going to happen. You have absolutely no idea, but you also have that faith that whatever you'll be caught. You're jumping off,
Yes.
but you will
Yes.
have a soft landing, or you'll be going to
Yeah.
someplace that you need to go. And that, because that can be a very scary thing for people, to leave everything that they know, right? And to
Absolutely.
yeah, but that's how
Yeah.
things change as well.
Well, it is. And it's also really how creation and how creating your reality works. I mean, so many of us have been influenced by this societal programming that circumstances have to be just so. You have to be in this place financially or in this path on your life in order to make a big change like that. And it's just not true. It's actually the ideas, our imagination, the soul-led nudges that come to us. When we receive that guidance, that is the time, not when our fear-based, ego mind tells us that it's the time.
Well, and isn't it that it's also that innate that need to stick with the tribe, right? I think it goes back to our caveman days of, oh, I need to pretend, so be wrapped up in societal norms. I need to pretend that I fit in, so I'll do the 9 to 5 job, or I'll have the house with the picket fence,
Yeah.
whatever it is, because if not, I'll get kicked out of the cave, and then the dinosaur was going to eat me.
Yes, I love that you bring this up, actually, because our part of our innate nature is to be connected, is to be part of a group. It's just what happens when you're having awakenings like this and making big changes like this, is that the tribe that you were with or the community that you're with may not be moving forward at the same frequency that you are, and it might be time to find a new tribe. Relationships are something that people are really challenged in navigating, and
Yeah.
I'm not exempt from that experience on my own personal journey either. To be honest with you, there are some relationships that flourished as a result of making that change in my life, and there are other relationships that ended up going away completely. I think it's just a willingness to have. You don't have to be without fear, okay? It's just a decision, a willingness to have the courage to honor the truth of who you really are, and know that the relationships that resonate with that are going to fall into place or flourish as a result.
Absolutely. I have I think this is from doing so many years in radio, in broadcasting. Um, I have I can hear the audience, right? I can hear the audience with questions, and the question is, but how do I know who I really am? How do I know what I'm here for? How do I know what my life's purpose is? Now that's a very large quadrillion-dollar question. But I'm hearing it in my head as like the audience is going, yeah, but how do I know? So I'll offer this to you.
Yeah, that's a great question. The easiest indicator is follow your joy. It is not a cliche saying. It's actually very true. When you pay attention to the way that you love to spend your time, pay attention to what lights you up, to what brings you joy, to what inspires you to feel good, because it really is all about feeling good. And so using your emotions as a GPS, so to speak, is an excellent way to get to know more about the truth of who you are. And you're also a divine creator being, right? Like, you're here to create, and joy is synonymous with creatorship.
So use your joy GPS.
Yes, I love what you said. Joy
You can have that.
GPS.
That's yours.
It's just like we were kind of saying earlier, right? And I was in this space on my journey in my other career where I checked off all those boxes, because those were the boxes that I thought initially that I needed to check off to feel fulfilled. And then, wow, I hit a ceiling, because I realized that checking off all the boxes, seeking for something outside of myself to fulfill myself, wasn't the answer. I needed to figure out who I was to truly feel that.
I love the idea of seeking that joy, because like in my with coaching clients and things like that, I love seeing that spark I love teaching. I'm a teacher, really. I'm a coach, but I mean, I'm a teacher, and I love teaching people, giving people the skills and the tools so that they can
Mhm.
go on and create and share their stories or share their wisdom or share their expertise with a much wider audience, right? So that it's that ripple effect. So they get to share their inspiration or their motivation, all those things, and then that affects other people, and then they share that. And I love that. That's what I'm passionate about, because I love seeing that spark. And I have a client that's she's 76 now, and she said, oh, and she's from Brooklyn. She says, oh, Christine, I don't know if I can do this podcast thing and the YouTube videos. She's like, I'm not very technologically savvy when it comes to the computer. And I said, Barbara, don't worry. I'm going to keep it simple for you, because she's a master Reiki healer. She's been doing spiritual work for ever, and she wanted just to share the message about Reiki healing, but also about hypnotherapy and all that good stuff. And so I taught her, and now she's got like 85 episodes. She's tearing it up, and
Love
she's in her
that.
late 70s with her own podcast and YouTube channel, and she's reaching people that she could never reach in her little office in Westlake Village. And that's
Yeah.
the joy. I love doing that. So if people who are listening to this or watching this can tap into those things that bring them joy, your message to them is go for it, go for it, go for it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sure everyone, at least listening here, has already noticed. I mean, a lot of the societal structures that many of us have known to always be true are crumbling. There are so many big shifts and changes happening into the world, I mean, and did some of those structures really ever flow or work that well to begin with? Who knows? But one thing is for sure is that nothing happens at random. And if you're living here during this time and you're listening to this podcast episode and you're being called to something and you know that it lights you up, know that that is like your green light to go for it, because we need you, we need people like you, we need people who have the courage to
Mm,
step forward and to show up as their authentic selves, to lead the
yeah.
way forward.
I love that. We do need people to step up, and we need courageous people. We need people to also to call out things as well. Is
Yes,
to be those brave souls that go, you know, I see the guy, I see the one, the wizard behind the curtain, right? We need
totally,
those people. We
totally.
do. We need those people, and the more that come that are brave and courageous like that, I think everybody's just kind of waiting for. It's like, who's going to be the first one who steps out on the dance floor? You go to a wedding, right, or you go to some special occasion, and they're playing dance music, and you're looking around, and nobody's on the dance floor.
It reminds me, actually, when you brought that up, what I was getting a visual of was like a junior high school
A
dance,
junior
where
high
it's like
school dance.
it's one of your
Yes,
very first dances.
yes.
Everyone's just standing around like, well, who's gonna dance first?
I was
And
always that kid that would go out on the dance because I couldn't help. They'd play some Michael Jackson, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, I can't stand still. Oh my god, I gotta go out." And I would go out on the dance floor, and lo and behold, as soon as that first person goes out on that dance floor, then it gives other people the courage to come out on the dance floor. Isn't that funny? That's how we are as humans. We are waiting for
it
someone to go
is.
on the dance floor, Jennifer.
I remember it being in junior high. I remember the person that I danced with for the first time, and I remember the song. And guess what song it was?
What?
Whitney Houston, How Will I Know?
I love that's such a great song.
So do I. She's such an angel. Oh my gosh.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Now let's, because I know another question I'm getting telepathically from the audience is, you mentioned earlier this word called Akashic, and you said Akashic Records. What the heck is Akashic Records? Would you mind sharing what the Akashic Records are, and maybe even better, does everybody have an Akashic record, or is it just a select few?
Yeah, that's a great question. So everybody has Akashic records. Very simply, the Akashic records are your soul's record. And very, to put into more like kind of earthy sort of human speak, it's like the library for your soul, right? So your soul is eternal. Your soul has all of these multi-dimensional experiences, different lifetimes, past, present, and future. All of those experiences are essentially recorded in the Akasha, which is the collective consciousness, and then each individual being has their own records. So that's, in very simple terms, what they are. Everyone has them. Everyone can access them. I've studied a lot of different modalities, Reiki, light body work, and such. And the Akashic records are really beyond a modality because they're an aspect of you. They're a part of you. And so it's very empowering to know that you literally can have access to this limitless storehouse of information for your soul. In all my years of experience on my own personal journey and that of working with clients, the Akashic records are one of the most direct paths to ascension and growth. It's kind of like taking a shortcut, right? It's like, because
right.
as humans, in a lot of times in our day-to-day reality, again, we can be influenced by programming that tells us, oh, your growth and that your journey to change has to feel difficult, and it has to feel hard, and it has to feel like it takes a long time. And that's not true. What it's about is our willingness to shift. And if we are sincere in our willingness to shift into a higher frequency, that can happen right away. I mean, I work with, clients in longer term mentorship containers, but I also do a lot of just single Akashic records reading sessions. And like, I had a client comment one day that her life was changed in 25 minutes. I've had someone else tell me all of these shifts that occurred just within a couple of days of having our session, from one session. That's just to illustrate that when you are setting the intention and you're willing and open to receive and open to make the shift, working in your records directly at a soul level, you can literally set an intention to manifest something, and it can happen. It's like collapsing space and time. It's amazeballs.
It's a baseballs.
I just love that word. I had to like throw that
Well,
in there.
because I think, like, as you were saying, that the the framework is, oh, you need to work harder, you need to work, it's going to take a long time, you need to go sit on a mountaintop in a, lotus position. uh but the idea that there's that direct connection that we have to who we are, our soul, our
Yes.
soul's purpose, our lives, or not just our past lives, our future lives, all those different things that are running, together. I love that you say that it's not. And because sometimes we can think, as human beings, we think linear, right? We think,
Yeah.
you got to start here, like the navman thingy, like the navigator thing. Here's point A going to point B. It's going to take you X amount of hours, and how many miles or kilometers you're going to travel in order to get there.
Yeah.
And that's not true when it comes to your Akashic records, right? That's not the way it has
Exactly,
to go.
because linear time, and that only exists on the earth plane. Like, beyond this physical 3D reality, everything past, present, and future that as humans we perceive as past, present, and future is all happening in the now. Our existence is multi-dimensional.
See, right there, you blew some people's spark plugs. They were like, what do you, wait a second. My past and my future and my present is all playing out at the same time. They're like,
Yes, because yeah, so we could go down a rabbit hole on that for sure. I want to kind
that
of
might be
finish
part
that
B.
statement off by elaborating a bit to say that when we refer to soul purpose, soulmates, everything that we put soul in front of, when we're talking about soul, we're actually only talking about a fragment of our soul. So we have an oversoul, right? And then our soul, there are all these fragments of our soul that is out in the akasha, out in the consciousness, having all of these experiences. So when I'm saying past, present, and future, and everything is happening in the now, that's in kind of more simpler terms. That's what I'm talking about.
I was someone many years ago gave me a reference and it helped me too. Is like in the olden days, we used to have record players.
Oh,
and
I know, I miss those.
yeah, and it's and on the spindle, and it used to be even you could stack records. So like if you wanted to play, one piece of vinyl, you play that, and then when the song, when the album is over, the needle goes back, and then another record would come and on top of it,
Mhm.
and it doesn't negate that there is still a record underneath it, but then there's a record. So the idea was that all of these different things are sort of all together, even though the needle is maybe at this moment playing that particular record. Does that make
Yeah,
sense? is
exactly.
that, is that a good
Just like
analogy, or is that like is that
no,
too
it's a
old of
good
an analogy?
analogy. It's a good analogy because even within, this current lifetime that your soul is experiencing, this fragment of your soul, there are limitless dimensions that exist within that, right? That reflect different paths that you can choose based upon your own free will. So
Yeah.
you can see how each one of us is truly limitless in our choices and what we can create.
I love that. Wow, what a cool
It
job you
is
have
cool.
too, helping people with that. So
It's
so
fun.
so so with the work that you do, so people can have a session with you and just go over their Akashic records, dive into that, but then they also can have a longer working relationship with you. I would think too that you could help them, not with their personal life, but also their business life, is also like helping them with their careers and the things that they're doing, tapping into some of that soul power. I would assume. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes to all of that. So my mission and purpose, just all encompassing, is supporting people, and mostly women that I work with, in finding their truth, remembering the truth of who they are, and aligning to that timeline, right? So the highest purpose and mission that they're here to fulfill, whatever that calling is for them. And that could be, and sometimes it is, I call it soul-led business. Sometimes it's I work with a lot of business owners, probably 70% of my clients. And then there are also people that calling could be a book. That calling could
Right.
be any other number
Creating a
of things,
podcast.
right? Exactly. Creating a podcast. Absolutely. It can be any one of those things. That's actually what I do. So everybody has their own style of working with people, but for me, beyond and within working in the Akashic Records, I have a gift for being able to connect with someone and tap into their highest path. Like I can connect
Beautiful.
with someone's energy in the records and know what that is for them. I can see it and I can feel it. And then also what distortions might be in their body, right, that are blocking them or causing it to feel hard for them to move forward and achieving that. And I'm a channel as well. So sometimes I've channeled very detailed business offerings for people or, coaches and healers, or it's really just dependent upon what the person's unique path is. But what it all
Ah,
comes back to is like, I'm here to help them remember that.
I I need to book a session with you.
You can, that would be wonderful. Yeah, so I do offer single sessions. I do have pretty much a handful of people that I work with privately, longer term containers. And then I also teach the Akashic Records. I have
Love that.
a quarterly virtual retreat that I do just for a few hours a day over a weekend, where I work with people in a group kind of sisterhood sort of circle retreat setting to to experience that transformation, because I believe, like, imagine what kind of worlds we could be living in if everyone had access to themselves at this level. Like, how empowering is that and amazing is that? So I love teaching people how to do this as well.
That's your passion. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I can clearly see that. So if people want to find out more information, if they want to get on your newsletter list as well, where do they go, Jennifer?
Yeah. So the best place for all things Jennifer to go is my website, jenniferspor.com. I believe I included the link for you, but I also have an amazing free meditation activation journey called Highest Destiny. So if you are feeling called, right, to evolve and step into that next evolution, that journey will aid you in doing that. I've actually had many people message me after listening to that to tell me that they've listened to it several times, and each time they have a different experience because the journey is actually done in the Akashic Records. So there's an energy of that when you're in there.
And I have that link. I do have that link, and I'll make sure I'll post it in the show notes. So as well as a link to your website, Jennifer Spor, and it's SPOR.com. Put to your website for folks to click on, and that's very wonderful free gift, the meditation and activation from you on Highest Destiny. That link will also be in the show notes, so people can just click on that and enjoy it. Oh my goodness. And then I hope that they do get in touch with you. I want to thank you so very much for being with me today. Now my brain is like, I'm going, okay, look, let's see all the stuff that's possible. And I'll definitely get in contact with you and set up my own personal journey with you as well. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining me today. And I hope you had a good time as well.
Thank you. It was so much fun and an honor. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you, wonderful listeners on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Audible, all those great audio platforms. I want to thank you for joining us today. And also those that are watching on YouTube, thank you so much for your support of the show over the many years. I think it's the 7th or 8th year. I don't keep track. But I want to thank you so much for your support. If you want to know more about the show, you can go to outoftheboxwithchristine.com. If you want to know more about my coaching, you can go to christineblasdale.com or expertauthoritycoach.com. All those links will be in the show notes, so don't fret. You don't have to write it down. Just click the link in the show notes. And until next time, as I always say, remember to think outside that damn box. Bye for now.